Here we are. We're about to land in Havasu. We are picking up a retired Stroppe racer, Carl Jackson. And what's really cool about it is Carl Jackson drove the Stroppe Courier. So this is going to be a really cool opportunity for Carl to kind of come back to his roots and get to see all these vehicles from his past. When I told my grandma that we were picking up Carl and we were going to go look at the Stroppe Museum, she remembers Carl, and apparently him and my grandpa ran around together back in the day. And like I'm stoked to learn more history about all the vehicles. So being able to meet Carl Jackson and hear his stories, I mean, that's going to be really rad. I don't know if I want to hear all the stories of him and my grandpa, because I can only imagine what sort of trouble they got into, but... This is seriously like ballet.
There's about 10 foot over there. You could have got close. On the center line.
Drive, actually. He'll fly it.
Ready behind you and very well. Thank you.
So, you know, that's what I know about that world. And then, like, here's one of their race vehicles that Fulton's raced. And so then what we like about this is that's old school, and then that's the new school right there. That's the two different versions. And this is what Shelby's going to be racing, and Brady's going to be racing in
Just a few days. About 2 months.
Yeah. So, and then we'll get over to the Courier, but that's how we got connected. You know, we reached out and you told me that you had raced one of the Couriers back in the day.
Yeah, what happened was Stroppe built two of them, and the first two built, I drove one, and there was just two of them in the first race. Was a 500, and I won that in the Courier. And the next one was 1,000, I won that. And then the next 500, they had a sister car they built for a rally driver. And I don't know whether they ever rebuilt it or not, but they passed us so fast I didn't know they'd go that fast. But anyway, it was about 20 minutes later, they were stuffed into the bank with the engine in the front seat. They're both out, and it just a mess. So I don't know whether they ever rebuilt that car or not. So, but we went on with that Courier, and we won most of the races in it that we ran. I was telling Shelby we won the 400 in at the Mint. And it was a five lap, 400 mile. My co-driver, when we finished, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. They had three guys try to get him out. He was just like frozen in there. They had to put a chair out there and sit him in the chair because it was so, that many hours in that little car is just amazing. So.
Let's walk over here by this Courier because I want to show you on the underside when we got ready to restore it these guys had kind of kept track. Like, see right here, the Mint 400, this vehicle in 1975 got first place, and 74 got second place. So that was pretty neat how they documented.
That, yes.
That's a Parker, the Riverside, and then the Baja are the, looks like the 3 races they have here. But this was a privateer.
Yeah. What was interesting, too, that we never pre-ran. Tested the cars. Stopped, just put them on, and off we'd go. Well, the first
And
one.
hope for the best.
Yeah, he knew that the throttle linkage, the cable would corrode up and get where you couldn't use the throttle. So he put the solid linkage like this one, but the motor mounts were like marshmallows. So every bump, everything he hit it would accelerate, and you go like.
Slow, fast, slow, fast.
And I was just never forget. I was going up a pretty rocky wash like this, and Mickey Thompson was broke down in his sprint car. I was beside him, and he was standing on a rock, and we went by him going, because that thing just bobbled on the rock like that, and he just said it, shaking. But we made it, and was using so much gas, we stopped and told some people that not many people down there, but we told them that we had got a hole in our gas tank. We didn't tell them it was used so much gas we would never make it. So we said we got the tank fixed, and if we could borrow some gas, and they gave us some gas so we could finish it. But it was just some of the stuff that happened during the.
So is this the actual truck that you raced?
I don't know. I know most of them didn't have a windshield that we raced. And like the picture you have, it shows not a windshield. But
what we've been told, this was a privateer, because if it was Stroppe, this would have been blue and this would have been orange. Yeah. Then they would flip them when they were a privateer. But some of the stories that I've heard from Andrew Norton, there was maybe as many as 9 or 10 of the couriers that were raced in the mid 70s. But you mentioned you thought maybe there was only a couple at the time when you were racing.
Yeah, the Stroppe built. Yeah, there was. I just know the 2.
But that was probably a Stroppe sponsored. It was.
Yeah, it's all Ford and Stroppe and and.
So I think this was made at Stroppe, but it was just made for this privateer team.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
And
but this is the only one that they've been able to find so far, as per Andrew.
Wow.
They're looking for the others.
And one thing about it, like these.
Wow, that's wild.
This water jug, we had a little post, that stuck out of the roll bar right there. And you just stick it in there.
Let me show you that over here. So when we're restoring this vehicle, we see that little air chuck up there.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out why would they put air in the in the roll cage. So we spent weeks trying to research it. Then finally, when Willie got a hold of Willie Stroppe and sent him a picture, I said, Willie, why would you put air in the roll cage? And he said, what are you talking about? And so I sent him a picture. And he said, no, that's just to hold the hose up. You don't want to have the hose down in the dirt. You want to have the hose up clean. So that was kind of.
Oh man. and I had I call him Cool Hand Luke, co-driver, because I pointed in my mouth. We're just coming out of Puna Finale, which is the final point coming back on the 500, and it was in June. It was just really hot. I pointed like I wanted a drink, and he would always get the thing down and hand it to me. So he was messing around like that, and looked down on the floor, and he picked it up, and it all siphoned out. And he yelled, hey, he says, we're out of water. And I looked, he says, sure makes you thirsty, doesn't it? So anyway, we had a lot of fun, and there was, like when they changed the course down by Bay of Los Angeles one year, I had pre-run I had a Bronco, I'm sorry, that I pre-run in, and it was pretty steep hill, and I had to put it in 4-wheel drive to get up it, and you don't realize it, and you say, man, when it comes to race time, we'll never get up that. And you come race time in a little 2-wheel drive pickup, you go up that thing so fast you don't even think about it. You know, it's just quick. It goes, you know, it's just amazing how things you think or that you worry about. And one of the other ones was we pre-run, and it would rain the whole time we pre-run. So when we got back from the pre-run, we told Stroppe, we said, Stroppe, he says, we couldn't even get through. You know, we had 4-wheel drive, and the mud would build up on the tires and everything. And I said, put a board in the back, and we'll just, whoever goes the furthest is going to win the race, because you couldn't go anyplace. Well, a week later, we go down there and race, and it's all dust. And, you know, and so I think that Stroppe thought I was lying to him, because it was so much mud down there. But it's talked about racing. This is what happens, okay? There was one giant mud hole, and it was in the middle of the night, and we were going, and we come up on this ridge, and there's a guy standing up there pointing, going, go that way, go that way. So we turn and we go up this ridge, and we look down in this valley, and it looked like the Brea tar pits, because the one mud hole left from that storm, and there was, God, I don't know how many cars down there, and we beat all these guys who were big heroes. But if it wasn't for the guys standing on that thing telling you to go around.
Did you pull anybody out? Or you kept
going? No, yeah.
Oh, no.
Was the guy a local? Just a local that was?
No, it was one of the racers, because it was so far down that there wasn't many locals down there that, you know, where was that? So, come on.
There's a big, over here on the wall, I want to take you over here. This is supposedly, supposedly this was hanging in Stroppe's office, and there's some questions I have. So there's one of the couriers there. Do you remember if you had a number on yours, like, you know, that one shows number one?
Yeah, we did, but it wasn't number one.
And that might have just been a promotional thing.
Yes, it was, yeah.
What about this? You know the backstory of this?
Well, yeah, I was pretty sure Vic Hickey did that.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the Baja races, and I don't remember whether it was the 1,000 or whether it was the 500, but I remember he passed them out saying that.
So it's just a button just to make fun of his competitor?
Yeah, just a button, yeah. To make fun
We
of
have those.
And
Do you?
Yeah, that was like that.
Oh, you have that?
Yes,
Oh.
there's a few of them.
From Rod Hall
Yeah,
collection?
yep. He saved them all those years.
That's pretty cool.
And then James Garner.
James Gardner, yeah.
Yeah, he went on he developed an off-road team and built 10 AIR cars.
That's the Ramblers?
The Ramblers,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is another racing story. Okay, there was 10 of them, and I said, hey, James, why don't you? And I did all the testing. Went to go down there, and he would just beat them up and just have fun. And he would go down there and would test the cars, because they were built in the town that I lived in, close to where I worked. And so after the race, he said, hey, we got good news. This was James then. He says, the Rambler's giving us all 10 new cars. Goodyear's giving us all new tires. Everything's going to be a big deal. And so, all right, everybody's. Come Monday morning, the place was locked up, and that was the end of it.
They pulled the plug on the race program?
On the race program.
Oh.
I think John Crean was the money man, and that was, she had San Ynez. What's her name?
I guess I would assume that was his wife.
I guess I did too.
No, that's, believe it or not, she owned San Ynez, and she had, but she had a motel in But we always stopped there and spent the night.
So this is Rod here then, Rod and
Oh yeah, and Stroppe, yeah.
Stroppe. Do you know like who some of these people here are?
No, I don't know those.
There's a here, then another one up here that we wasn't sure.
That looks like what's it? It started the score, and I was standing in the back. Well, we'd bust the frame in half in the front of it, so it was at a pit, and I'm standing in the back of it, all dirty and everything. But that was the time of the long hair, and so Stroppe had it in his office, and you look at it, and he says, "That's my first Mexican driver." And so so Willie got me the picture.
Carl.
Oh,
Josephina.
Josephina, yeah, Josephina. That's exactly it.
We're starting to ask about when they raced one of these vehicles and they pulled a travel trailer.
Right.
That was just an advertising gimmick, or what?
Yeah,
did you do that?
for the guy that built the trailer, built it for off road, and what the specialty was it had a trailing arm and a torsion bar, like the front of the Volkswagens,
Yep.
And so he wanted somebody to pull it, and so there was a guy that worked for the trailer company that knew Miner, which Larry Miner, he raced for Stroppe, so
Yep.
they went to put it together. So Stroppe, I'll never forget, he calls me in his office and he says, "Have I got a deal for you?" And I said, "Yeah, let's hear it." And so he told me, he says, what they'll do is, we're going to pull it with a Bronco, just a Baja Bronco. It was nothing special, it was just a Baja Bronco. And when you leave the starting line with it, they give you X amount of dollars. And I said, "But you can't lose." So,
Yeah.
So we went and picked it up. Of course, they had put big side mirrors on it, and I don't know why they put the side mirrors on it. And then the spare gas tank, they just put some gas cans in the back, some jerry cans. So of course, when I went through tech, they said you can't have those, bounce around in the front. So we took those out, and then and we agreed. Well, we didn't agree. We told them we'd start at the very back, last car off the line, so we wouldn't block anybody. And so we took off, and with the mirrors, you look in this mirror and the trailer's over here. You look in this mirror and it's over here. So the only way we're going to make it, I said, I can't. So we stopped. We tear the mirrors off of it because, it just. And what I did, I drove like it wasn't there, but slow enough to make the point and finish. You see what I'm saying? And if the trailer didn't make it, well, I wasn't going to get anything extra anyway, so I just drove that speed.
But they were going to give you a bonus if you made
Oh
it?
yeah, that's going to double it if I finish. And when we finished, the guy was so happy. But here's some of the stories along the way. In those days, Nora furnished the gas with your entry fee, and we pulled into one of the checkpoints. It was about the second one, and they wouldn't fuel us because they thought it was pit, because it was pulling the trailer. So we had to find somebody to speak Mexican, New English, that we explained that we're actually
Part of the race.
we're riding the race, yeah. So go on. And before the race, I was talking to Steve McQueen. Him and I were pretty good friends because we'd been in the racing for a little bit. And he says, "Are you going to actually pull that through the canyon?" And I said, "Well," I says, "if I don't pull it through the canyon and I have to pull it around, I said, I'll never make it because of the extra time." Yeah. So either go through the canyon and make it, or go through the canyon and break down, or whatever. So he said, well, we took a long bed Ford pickup through there and got both rear panels are gone. He says, "You'll never make it." So
Because it was just narrow through there, or what's just
and
real
boulders.
narrow? Oh, I see.
Boulders. They call it, I think they call it the Boulder Canyon or something. There's so many rocks and boulders and stuff. So, sure enough, we hit there in the middle of the night. It's about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and the wind's blowing from the back. So, and the automatic, of course, it's never tested. It won't go into low gear, the low range either. So we're going over the boulders by hitting them, going, and just hopping over. Temperature gauge is pegged because of the wind blowing in the back, and the tire is blown out in the back of on the trailer, and you can hear the rim just banging against the boulders, and you can't change it. You can't change the tire because it's too narrow. You got to pull it to where you. And so here we are. The thing's pegged to the heat, you know, and we can't hardly get over the boulders, and the bang of the tire off the rim. And I look at my co-driver, and it was old Fricker. I said, Fricker, I says, I think Steve was right. We shouldn't be here.
But you kept going.
Well, yeah, we just kept going, and finally.
So how many, do you have any flats on that?
Okay, we had they put in 4 extra tires, so we had 5 to make it halfway for the trailer, and so they guaranteed us this. We'll have another set for you at the halfway point at Portecitas when you get through the 3 Sisters. So we get there and it's just daylight. We get in there and no tires, and we didn't have any spares. I said, well, Fricker, this is what we're going to do. He says, we're going to take off, and when we have flat, we're just going until we have nothing but a tongue left.
Oh my gosh.
So we took out, and it was going pretty fast because, you know, we'd come that
You're
far.
You're driving with flat tires then?
No, we didn't have any flat tires then, but we was.
But you went through 5 tires to get halfway?
Halfway, yeah. And so we knew we was going to have one, and nothing would fit it, you know. So we're just going to tow it until there's nothing left. But after about 15 miles, here they come up. It was coming up with the tires up the trail. So
you just hauled the tires in the trailer?
yeah, they made a big bracket and a stack of 4, and the trailer, believe it or not, was actually a travel trailer. It had a bed and a stove and a closet and curtains and everything in it. It was amazing. And then when we finished the race, the guy that was head of the program, he looked at and he's hunting for a hammer. He wants to beat it up. And I said, no, don't. I said, we got it here. It looked like brand new. You know, after all that.
It looked new on the inside?
No, not on the inside.
Oh.
But so we saw, and we opened the door, and you look in it, and it looked like they took one of those units that they use for insulation in houses, and it looked like they just shot it on the inside because it was all dust. And the only thing that was wrong was the back curtain had fallen off of one side. Believe it or not, it was crazy.
It's a pretty good trailer then, huh?
Yeah,
Good
it was.
advertisement?
Yeah, it was.
Did they use it for advertising after the fact? Then?
Yeah, they did. They towed it around in different places, and I don't know whatever happened to the company.
I never have heard where
because it ended up or anything about it, so I don't know. But it was.
Was that 71? Is that what year that was? Do you remember?
It was.
Because the vehicle is for sale right now.
Yeah,
The stock one is for sale, and I think it is a 71.
Okay.
But I don't know what year they raced it.
Yeah. Well, we bought we didn't, but we got the Baja Bronco from Landfield's Ford dealership. He had one on the lot, and that's where it come from. Dick had it, so and they just took it, hooked it on, and we ended up pulling the trailer hitch off 3 times. You know, it's bolted on, and so we put him. And finally, when we got to San Felipe, they welded it on.
Oh yeah.
And that's how we knew that it was the trailer that the Bronco that we used to pull it when they had it at the 40.
The hitch had been welded on.
Been welded on, yeah, kind of so. And then, like I say, we had and the guy was so happy he left us a credit card at the hotel we were staying at. He said, stay here as long as you want. And we did. We stayed here 3 days. And then we made it. Then he come to us and we made a deal for the 1,000. But I think, and I can see it that here's one of the roughest races there is, and here's some jerk going around pulling a travel trailer and beating people. It was
So back to when you raced that, you made it through the race. You finished the race then.
Yeah,
Did you beat anybody, or were you the last ones?
It was amazing. I think in the article, Zerker Todd, he wrote an article on it years ago, and it's amazing how many people we beat and passed, and and I think it was just people were breaking down and stuff, and we made it, and so it was like like in the mid pack or something.
With a stock unit.
Yeah, it was stock trailer.
That's pretty amazing.
It was funny, So down there, but it was. And the whole time we were just doing it for the fun of it, There was nothing, we weren't trying to make history or do something special. They said, hey, we'll give you some money to do it. All right, it sounds good.
So did you grow up with Rod Hall then?
Yes, yeah, we grew up with him. And
you guys are about the same age
Same
then?
age, yeah.
Go to school together?
No, actually the school district he was right on the line on this side, and I was on the line on this side, so we went to different ones. But we ran around together, and we raced the second 1,000 together, and we raced it for Jeep for Brian Chichua, and I was telling her some of the stories that we should have told.
So both you and Rod raced Jeeps to start with, and then then you converted over to Ford?
Yes, and it was stupid on my part because everybody in town was racing for Stroppe. There was Miner was racing for Stroppe, and Loomis was racing for Stroppe, and Harvick was racing for Stroppe, and Rodney was racing for Stroppe. And Stroppe come to me and he said he wanted me to drive for him. I said, no, and I had a little 57 Jeep, and I was racing. I was racing. I didn't. And then, but the third year of driving that Jeep, I was looking at it, I needed tires, and I said, man, how dumb am I? I could be racing for Ford, and so finally I went back to him. But this isn't brag. I'm not doing this as a brag, but with that. You
can brag a little.
No, but I had that little 57. I still have it to this day. I drive it all the time. It's just a stock 57 4-cylinder. And I even had to buy, to run that class, I even had to buy an exhaust system to make sure it was stock. So when you hit the throttle, it sounded like it'd go tss, and tss, and you couldn't even hear it run, And so I actually beat Larry overall, no handicap, with that stock Jeep. Not by much, but
a win is a win.
It might have been a coat of paint, but I beat him. And Ford has a video, or whatever they took in those days, but I could never get it because I always wanted that, and I could never get it from them. So then I decided, man, I can't do this on my own forever. So then I went for, and on that same token, it was never quitting. That was the second time I beat him. The first time I beat Larry he was racing a Jeep, a modified Jeep, and it was for a brand new Bronco. It was the 2 years in a row. It was him and I at the top, and that's funny for being in a stock. I'm as stock as you can be that you can turn key, and I'm beating those guys, and I don't know why. People say, how you doing? I don't know. But anyways, the last race for the new Bronco was him and I together. And so we take off, boom, in the first corner, I shifted down, and nothing happened. And I went out through the weeds and everything. I said, what the heck's going on? And Miner's gone, So I put it in reverse to get back on the course, and it was down the riverbed in Riverside. And I put it in reverse, and it held, and I started back up, and then I give it gas, and it would spin. Well, come to find out that when I was shifted down, I blew a pressure plate, because when I finally took it out, it was in 4 pieces, the pressure plate. But I found out if I throttled it, it would move. So I'd move on, and I said, you know what? I told myself, I says, it's moving to go as far as you can go. So I was back on the course, so I put it, and it started going, and then I would give it enough gas just to move. I had no idea, I was just going as far as I could. And I went around the course, and I come around the corner. Of course, it took the course that was run like in 5 minutes. It took us almost 20 minutes to get around because I couldn't do it. And I come around the corner, and there was Larry there with the tire off the rim stuck in the riverbed. And I said, well, God, I can't even believe it. And I couldn't even hardly get back up to the pits because and what that was, why I could do that is because I always had I put a metallic disc in for the clutch on those, because the Jeep, no matter what, ask Brian, he just built a Jeep, and there's no way in the world for those Jeeps to be oil proof from they always leaked oil into that. And I always put a metallic in there so that it would hold, never slip, and in the water and stuff. And that's the only reason that it didn't tear the disc apart, is just the pressure plate. That was one of those that you say, hey, we did it. Pretty happy about that.
Let's walk over by the Fulton Jeep, the race Jeep over there. I have a couple questions. So do you remember this team, this Fulton team?
Yes, I do, yeah. I knew all the guys and everything, but I was always into myself, I didn't care what they were doing and if I didn't win, we were just having fun, and we didn't. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know about classes when I was racing my Jeep, and we won the class for the year, and we had no intention of it because we were just going each one and having fun. We didn't know who was there or what they were, but I didn't know them per se as I just knew them as.
But I mean, when you walk up and look at some of the features, like people talk like how Stroppe used to gusset, their roll bars. I mean, all that stuff looks like what you remember. Yeah,
and the top, this top, and I'll tell you why I always put a top in like that, because one of the first 1,000, there was 2 guys racing a Bronco, and they stopped for some reason, and a car passed them, a race truck passed them, and they jumped back in. They didn't buckle, and so they rolled it, and they went, and there was nothing at the top, and they went out the top, and it killed them. So from then on, all the tops he put something up there. So they were, yeah, and I don't know why they didn't buckle, man. I tell you, that's especially, yeah. I mean, they're in a hurry, but there's a difference. But a Jeep, that's the roughest ride there ever was, right there. And I think
it still is.
Yeah, and my Jeep's a CJ5, and it's a little shorter yet. And if you drive it on the freeway where they've made where it's concrete, a girl can't sit in there. I'm telling you, it fits in there just enough to just bam, bam, bam.
So here's a pretty neat poster of
Stroppe.
Bill, then here's Willie. Then when we've had some of the other people out here, they recognized a lot of the other people that worked in the shop.
Yeah, he was a pretty neat guy too, worked in there.
I think he's having the most fun.
Yeah.
And then this other photo, here's Rod's vehicle here.
Yeah,
so that had to be at least 77, I could just tell by the grill on Rod Hall truck.
So what's funny though is he's pitting with the Stroppe team,
Yeah, and that I never did understand.
But I thought Stroppe, this would have been after Ford and Stroppe kind of had a falling out. That's why he did the Jeep. And then they did work. So Rod would have known Stroppe and they would have pitted together. But maybe
Yeah, and
that
I
wasn't-
think that's what it was. Yeah, I
wasn't
think.
the factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ford factory.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So like when we got this trailer, we got this
Oh,
was in there too.
yeah.
Remember those?
Oh, those, they're beautiful. Don't get me, absolutely beautiful. But the only problem is you're going faster than you can read it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we had one in,
Turning the crank.
yeah, you're going faster. And,
Well, I always wondered what happens when the wind gets behind it and it all just goes out like a roll of toilet paper.
well, I think most of them the whole thing went out the window because when you're reading it, you're up here, and by the time you just couldn't roll it fast.
Or your water tube falls down. And
Yeah, yeah,
Then the paper gets all wet.
Get all wet, yeah. But they're so unique, though. Having
incredible.
one like that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And I love it, man. Jeez, it's been years since. And I still have one on the street somewhere out in the middle of Baja.
Some of our other stuff we actually sent back to the Hall of Fame. Bill
yeah.
Stroppe is going to get it inducted this year.
Oh, cool.
So we sent a lot of our
neat.
memorabilia back to the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
But do you remember this trailer?
yeah, I do.
Do you remember what was in it? Because we never have known.
I
Some
don't.
people say it was like a workshop. There was maybe a lathe, the drill press, welders.
And I don't know. I really don't.
We were looking for photos of it.
Yeah.
This welder, it's an old Lincoln welder. It was mounted in the doorway right here. There's a little outside door there.
Doorway. Oh,
But so we actually took it from there and put it
Put
up
it
there
there.
just because I wanted to be able to. And see, that's why they had this bent over so it'll fit through the
Oh,
hole.
go through the hole.
Yeah, but we wanted to put it up there because when we take it to some shows, we'll have two vehicles here, and it took up too much space.
When I showed my grandma a picture of this, she said, "Oh my gosh, I have so many memories riding in that truck and sitting in it for hours at the pits."
And what about Pikes Peak hill climb? Did you ever come out to Pikes Peak?
No, I never did. I always wanted to and everything. And I'm glad I didn't because about 2 years ago I went up there and it was just scary, man. I don't know if you've never been there.
Yeah.
No, man. But I did. 1 year I rode with Ag Miller that actually won that 1 year. And Ag Miller, he was kind of connected with Stroppe a little bit, but he liked propane. And he would he was building propane and turbochargers when I was with him. And so he was racing this Ford pickup on propane. And so I went with him on that. For some reason, mine wasn't done. And it was the scariest thing you ever heard in your life. At 100 miles an hour, that thing would explode. I mean, the engine sounded like the pan come off. So we stopped. The first time I stopped and pull over, and it's fine, no problem, So we get back and off we go. And once you hit 100, there it goes again. So you always had it. And then of course it was propane, and they run a truck up from Valle Constitucion to La Purísima, a propane truck, so we could have fuel at La Purísima. And they told us where the fuel truck would be and everything. I said, oh, great. So we pulled into La Purísima and found the truck. Said, all right, we'll fuel up. Got in and started up, no pressure. We started looking around, and of course it's the middle of the night. It always happens in the middle of the night. It didn't have a drive shaft to the pump, to pump the fuel to us. So we look around in the truck, and back of the seat was a drive shaft. So we put the drive shaft in. So it was about an hour there, just trying to get fuel. And that was the trouble then with propane was nobody had it, And
Have you heard the story what they called the Broncos that ran on propane back in the day?
No.
They called him a stove.
Stove. Yeah, and the reason they called him the stove was okay. In Hemet, we had the Hemet Jeep Club, and everybody that raced was in the Jeep Club, and my dad was in it, and the whole town was in the Hemet Jeep Club. You know. So my dad was there was a big hay company that hauled hay out of the valley into Hemet. It was called Ost Hay Company, AST, yeah. And he wanted to run on propane. So he tried propane, but coming out of the valley, he'd always burn valves in these hay trucks running on propane because it runs so hot. And so when Loomis was going to run the one Bronco, my dad said it was, the Jeep Club, and I was talking to him. My dad says, the only good thing that gas is propane is for cooking. And that's how the stove came about. They named that Bronco that Loomis run the stove. That if you see it, still got the stove across. And of course they had it then where they had the removable tanks, where you just switch tanks and stuff on there. So,
Is that how you met Rod? Was the Hemet Jeep Club?
I don't know how I met him. But it wasn't the Hemet Jeep Club. It was already friends.
You were before that?
Before that, yeah. And it was all about the same age, and there was a group of us that run around together called the Fun Set. There's 5 couples, and they was just all together all the time. And then they started racing, and that's what happened. And we'd go on probably, in the Hemet Jeep Club, we'd probably go on a trip 6 times a year, maybe more. And of course, you're out in the desert in your Jeeps, and you're going down a wash, and you're just racing each other and playing. And then pretty soon, one thing leads to another, and that's how we all got together. And that's why I was telling you, so many racers come out of Hemet, I think, because they were doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And had the spot to do it. So
It was your hobby before
yeah,
you were...
it was a hobby, yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing about off-road racing then, no matter what you're racing, you're up hours. I mean, it's nothing to be up all night. You race all night, coming in at night. Well, in those days, the age you were up all night, and you're used to being up all night, So time meant nothing, so you raced all night, and no big deal, you just...
Even when we race now, I feel like you race more at night than you do during the day, even though it's the same amount of hours.
Same hours,
There's
So
more night for some reason.
It's always...
Well, come look at my grandpa's Bronco.
Can I give you a hand down?
I think I may. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Scourge was a beer can, right? When you left the start line, they taped the beer can on your roll bar right here, usually on that side over there. And then when you go through a checkpoint, they had a token. And everyone had a different token, and then they put the token in the beer can. And then when you got to the finish line, they made sure you
Counted your token.
So it made sure you didn't cut the corner. You had to go to. I mean, you had to be a little careful with that beer can. You didn't lose that on the way there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they just duct taped it on, and just a beer can, and see in those days there was checkpoint to checkpoint. There was no. They just showed you the checkpoint. You got there any way you wanted. You wanted to, as long as you got that checkpoint where right.
So what year did you start racing the Mexican or the Nora?
I started would be the second year was Rodney. He raced the first. Him and Larry raced the first year in a stock Jeep. When I saw that, I thought, man, those guys got powder because they'd never been down there pre-running or anything, and they had this Jeep, Rodney's Jeep, and they have a cooler in the back, and off they go. For 1,000 miles.
Which he did tell me that he had bananas in the cooler. And if you can imagine what bananas in a cooler...
would look like. And so
and he had a toolbox, a small handheld toolbox, and I don't know if this is true. But he said it clanked around and made so much noise they threw it out.
Well, I tell you what, I every time I see Larry and we start talking about it, I tell him, I said, I have to hand it you guys get in a, and had 1,000 miles down a stock with a stock.
So that was the first few years with Jeep, and then then in '69 they won it. So that would have been pre-'69 though, because this would have been the first year they did it with the Bronco.
I think so.
67.
That's what it says on the sign back here.
67 was the first year ever.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
the
raced
first- That was the
68.
first year they raced.
Yep.
67?
Yep.
So he raced 68.
68.
And then Rod jumped back with Larry and won it.
In 69.
I see. Did you ever race the Stroppe Bronco then, besides the one that you pulled the camper?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, with Stroppe, I raced the full-size pickup, the mini pickups, and the Bronco, yeah. So I raced all three for Stroppe. He told everybody that since reading like me, I'd drive anything. So he just, whatever they had, I'd just drive for it.
Did they drive on the full-size pickup? Was that just the 150? That same thing like what Gardner drove? Or maybe it's called a 100, F100?
Yeah, and they were both long beds. And I went with Walker Evans. We won the Mint one year. And that was the year it snowed. I don't know what you heard about, when it snowed down there. And that car had just got finished and still had the windshield and windows in it. So it was all warm, going by. Guys were actually, and the buggies were out peeing on their carburetors to try to warm them up because they were freezing over. Out there and starting. And then we were going and the snow, there's about this much snow on the ground. And the only one in front of us then was Parnelli. And we went on this wash, I'll never forget. And this wash is real wide. And you know how you go down a wash like this? You look at that wash, and because of the snow, you can see Parnelli's just vivid. It's just straight. There's cactus that looks like it's been exploded. Boulders, I mean, there's no turn. He straight. And then you get to the end, and there's 100 feet, there's no track. It's just amazing. He's just straight all the time. Doesn't miss nothing. It's crazy.
Some of these vehicles behind us over here now, they were KBRS, Hal Seeland. Do you remember Hal?
No, but I do remember the KBRS. Oh, they went on to build a lot of accessories, I think.
They did, but I see pictures now, just been recently being posted by Todd, and some of the guys been posting them on Hal racing back in the day.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember those guys hardly at all. So, but there was a company, not a company. There was a father and son out of Texas that was racing a Courier, and I remember that because they was always racing. And this was one year that we didn't finish. We were racing a Courier, and before the first checkpoint, I heard a noise. It sounded like a rear end, so I had him check. Says it's cool, it's full. So okay, so off we go. It got louder the next one, louder the next one. By the time we got into San Ignacio, you could hear us coming for 10 miles. I mean, really, it was like a sign. It was. It's just so loud. And it wasn't hot, not hot, and it was full. I said, well, we can make it as long as it's not hot. And we're going to hit fifth gear, going across the tidal flats, and the drive shaft. The center section of the drive shaft, both welds come out and come apart. So that noise, whatever it was, made a harmonic noise, and it shattered both drive lines. I mean, not both drive lines, but the front and the back, and so the centerpiece is gone, absolutely gone. And so we're there, and we look at the time, and we was like 2 hours ahead of the next car. It was just, and they come by, and there was the ones from Texas I was telling you about. And so they drove off. They offered us a bottle of whiskey that I guess they did, but we didn't take because we waited until after. But anyways, you could hear them laughing for 10 miles, because we're out in the middle of tidal flats. They go, but I remember those guys. Go on, so yeah, we had a lot of interesting times down there. Man.
Yeah, I bet.
When did you kind of get away from the racing, or how long did you do it?
God, I don't know. I raced after I quit racing for Stroppe. I would race for Jim Venable in a Class 5 for a while. Well, we won the class that year. And I was telling Shelby about the first pickup built for Robbie Gordon was a hay hauler for that Venable's friend to give him to haul hay to his ranch. So, and we were still racing the Class 5 then, and then I raced the Class 1 and didn't do very good in the Class 1. And so, once you realize that you need to be 10 years younger, you you give up on it. So
Was you ever around Willie very much?
just a little bit when I was down there, yeah. And I always liked Willie and everything. He was there was one quick story just about life. Is there was one kid always down at the Stroppe's place where he would sweep the floor and he'd do anything to be there. And his folks had a music store in Long Beach, so he wasn't too far. And so he was always fascinated with the Broncos and everything. He ended up being the head of the Ford pickup division in Texas.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
years and years just being around it and growing up through it and everything. So it was pretty neat. So
That's cool.
That is
come out
really
right
cool.
So it was fun. And then Big Ole, I was racing for Stroppe during the time that they built Big Ole, and it was in the same building but a separate room. And we used to always go in there to see, because some of the neat things being done by the guy building it is just incredible. The ideas and the things and being around those guys. And Parnelli, he was a lot of fun. A lot of people disliked him. I don't know. So, some of the cars would have a thing stuck at the end of it like this, like a bar, and have a flag on it. So for when Parnelli hits me or something, it could his radiator. And one guy had a bottle of oil wrapped onto the back of it, so when it hit, it would explode if Parnelli hit him. Because he just hit anybody. I mean, he was
Pretty aggressive driver.
aggressive, yeah. And he's just crazy. And he said that when he's in LA, he has to have somebody drive him because he gets so mad that he'd run over his grandmother. But he was a nice guy to be around, a lot of fun and stuff. All those guys, just really enjoyed him.
Back in the day when that Gardner raced, we know him as kind of being a movie star. Was he back then too?
Yes. Yeah,
He was in the movies then too?
Yeah, and he was, I was around him quite a bit, and also Steve McQueen at different times, and raced with both of them. And they're two different people. If somebody saw Steve, he would be mauled. They'd scream and yell and run at him, and you couldn't do nothing. We would be having a kind of little get together to figure out the race, and somebody see him and they just scream and they just run to him. And but Garner, he kind of walked around and he would shake your hand and visit with you, and everybody kind of enjoyed him being out, and he was a lot of fun to come out. So.
Well, you think Stroppe wanted him to be on his team, or did he want Stroppe as his builder, or how did that connection ever come around, you think?
I think he wanted to build his own team, because they actually had the 10 cars, that they built there in Hemet, and they also had a open wheel car they were building at the same time, at the same place. And they never did run it. And so, but the John Crean he was the money guy that behind all the cars and stuff. And he built mobile homes at the time when it was real popular. He had 5 factories or something, and we used to take him with us pre-run, and he was quite a guy. He always brought along a big Bowie knife, because when he grew up, he had a Bowie knife, and we'd be out there in the middle of Baja, camped out, and he'd
What
have
is
his-
that? What's a Bowie knife?
It's just a big, long, ugly.
Like a machete?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, basically like a machete. And he remember when he was a
Just take
kid.
that
So,
around?
and he would go with us, and he'd always take an electric frying pan and a little generator. But I'd like to tell this one story. It's in the early days there was Mickey Thompson that we run around with Landfield, Dick Landfield, and Mickey Thompson were best friends. They were really good friends. As a matter of fact, Landfield was Mickey Thompson's best man at the wedding, and that's how close they were. And so we kind of run around together. Well, in the early days, nobody could put a face to who they were down in Mexico. You know, they knew there was like Parnelli and Mickey Thompson. They knew the names of the fast guys. So there was Mickey and I in Landfield was out pre-running in a Bronco, and we broke a rear shock mount off. So we pulled in this little dirt floor welding shop in San Felipe and asked the guy if he could weld it up. And the guy said, yeah, we weld it up. So he's welding up, and we're having lunch on the hood of the Bronco. We had a loaf of bread, mayonnaise, and bologna. That was what we always ate. So after it was over, the guy put it back together, and Mickey says, how much? And the guy says, $5. And so Mickey pulled out his wallet, so he's that fat, and pulled out 5 pennies. And Mickey looks at him and he says, me, Mickey Thompson. And the guy looks at him and says, me, Jesse James. I'll never, because those guys, yeah. And you know, because those guys are so egotistical, you know, they just, and Parnelli had little stickers about this big made that said PJ on them. And he'd go through these little towns and just hand out 1,000 kids had them on their forehead and all over the buildings and stuff.
Wonder if who started that stickers back in the day then.
I've always wondered.
Yeah, who started the stickers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's pretty. And the stickers were interesting because the first race that finished in La Paz was parked on the street and was gone, come back to move it, and all the stickers are gone. They take them right off the car.
Yeah.
They just, what was this, our car? What? They take them right off the car. So, I don't know how, but they do it.
Stickers don't stick so good after they come off a car.
I
so-
know, they don't, but they don't.
We used to hear stories, and I don't know if it was the early days or later on, about they'd try to sabotage the track. You know, some of the spectators would do that just to make for a better show.
Yeah.
Did you run into any of that?
I never did, but Rodney run into it. I never forget the one. It must have been the 500 because they come back through San Felipe and they went by the dump, in back of the dump there. And they had taken an old box spring and taken the springs out and hooked it together with barbed wire. And Rodney got that wrapped around his driveline. He ran through there and got it, and it took him hours and hours to get that off. And it was all wrapped around there, under there with the barbed wire. But we never seen this. Was probably so far back in that thing that we never got into it. But it was we just. It's so funny how much how it changed down there. You know, when we first started going down there, they call it arrowweed, and they'd be living in these arrowweed huts that are woven together.
Wow.
And then the next year you go down there, and you'd see a car parked beside the hut.
The straw hut.
Yeah, the straw hut, and then you would see the big TV antennas, the big round one, and a generator, and it had TV in there. We were out in the middle of nowhere, and then it started changing the way the Mexicans looked. They started looking like Americans because they see it on television. It was really interesting to see how much that started changed and influenced down there. And the boot, yeah. And it was actually made by, Vic Hickey was behind it, and Chevy, I guess. Well, they had, Vic Hickey come to me and told me that they were building to be the first computerized buggy ever built. So it was like $65,000 or something. Anyway, then it was a lot of money. I wanted to know I'd drive it. I said, well, sure. So he said, well, your co-driver is going to be Bud Eakins. And I said, okay, I didn't know who Bud Eakins was. And so I still raced my little Jeep in the sand. And it was in Hemet at the races, at the sand races. And the announcers told me to come to the announcer stand. So I go up there, and there's a guy standing there. And they said, hey, there's a guy who wants to talk to you out in back of the parking lot. And I was like, well, I don't know what's going to go on back there. So anyway, I go back there, and there's Steve McQueen standing there, and him in back of the sand drags. And he wanted to buy my seat out of the Baja boot because Bud Eakins was actually his stunt driver in some of the movies. And so he wanted to drive it and have Bud Eakins as his co-driver. And so I said, no. So anyways, Hickey and they ended up building a sister car for McQueen. And so
you got to keep your seat.
I got to keep my seat, yeah.
Carl, the first time I met him, he told me that story. As he's telling me that story, I'm Googling it. I have my computer, and I see the picture of the one you're talking about that had McQueen's name on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is.
And you know what was weird about it? They come to me, and I was the first guy asked to drive it, And by the time they got them all done, my name's at the bottom. And you look at that same picture, I'll be under everybody's name. But then it didn't make any difference. You was driving, we didn't care where you. A lot of guys were worried about that, and so they wanted to be the top dog and have their name on it.
Yeah.
So it was
Do you remember this truck and trailer in Mexico? You guys were taking it down there?
That and also the car carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The open carrier.
yeah, the open carrier. Yeah, I remember that.
We had this down in Ensenada 2 or 3 years ago, and I had an older Spanish gentleman come up to me, and he had his grandson with him translating, and he told me that the Stroppe crew needed it repositioned in the middle of the night, and he knew the route. And so this gentleman, he drove this truck and trailer from one spot to another spot in the middle of the night. So he's telling me this. He's telling his grandson the story. He's telling it to me. But it was pretty fun. And his grandson was pretty proud of his grandpa that drove the truck, and that would have been in the early 70s. It sounds like.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Another time we had it up in the mountains, or at a Bronco event. I had some guys come up to me that they used to spend the night inside of it at up on Pikes Peak, because when Stroppe had come to town, he had to hire some local mechanics that knew how to work with the carburation, that know how to run in a higher altitude, how to jet them. And so Stroppe would have these ringer guys that lived right there in Colorado Springs come up and work with them. So those two older gentlemen was telling me, yeah, we spent many nights in that cold truck.
I can tell a secret now about my old four-cylinder winning a lot of races. That I designed a carburetor that you could adjust the main jet from the outside, and on it. And so you get down the beach, and you could. I'd go up a class and beat it. You could just open that thing up and just pour the gas to it, with all the moisture and everything.
Yeah.
And then you go to the mountains and you turn it in, and just right under the hood.
But you had a set up where you do it externally.
Yeah, and then take it apart. You could just, I'd set a certain RPM and turn it in just like the old one cylinder. You shake. Yeah, there you go. So it's the same thing, and then get it going. Yeah.
Smart.
And so you could, you could run that, whatever the atmosphere was. So.
Yep.
And it really helped to come up. Because some of the races were in the mountains and nobody knew to thin it out, and they always get beat up there. Well, you get up there and adjust it right, come out.
Do you watch any of the races now and you see some of the trophy trucks, what their suspension is like?
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if you had that back in your day?
Well, like that one picture I gave you, we had 2.5 inches. I was going to put, wow, look at this suspension on travel. Yeah. Wow, it was nowadays it's just amazing, all the travel and stuff they got in the ride and they go, so. Yes.
Carl, Wayne asked when your last race was, if I remember correctly, it was in the Nissan at Parker, and you won the Parker 400
that was
score race in '94.
Okay. Yeah, we was when Nissan got out of Nissan, Ford, and Chevy and Toyota, they had the company cars that they ran in the trophy trucks. Well, when they got out of it, JVR went and proposed to them about running a car, make it, what was the fastest pickup, and then we also run it for
The land speed program in NHRA. Carl set 5 or 6 international land speed records. With one truck, and with the other truck we set a national NHRA record. And the mission was to make Nissan the world's quickest and world's fastest 4-cylinder trucks, because that year they introduced the Infinity, and it put their whole product line out of sync in the CAFE economy balance. So they took the V6 out of the pickup, and were very concerned because Toyota still had the V6 in their pickups. So we sold them the program. Carl set the records.
That was at Salt Flats, or where were you guys
Yes,
racing at?
Bonneville. We ran at El Mirage and at Bonneville, but the world records were SCTA records at Bonneville. And then we campaigned a separate truck. These engines were the size of our generators' engines. It was quite something. But Carl was always a master at getting the absolute most out of the.
What was your profession then? Did you do mechanical work?
Yeah, I did for about 30 years, I guess. But in those days, it's kind of weird that when you do mechanical work, you do everything and nothing's exchanged. The carburetors, you rebuild them, generators, alternators. We were on chainsaws, 18-wheelers.
It wasn't a throwaway world like
it wasn't a throwaway. And like the drums on the big 18-wheelers, we had a lathe that would actually hold the wheels all together. And where you turn in the drums, they're like 10 inches wide. You turn in the drums, you're relining the brakes. Now you just throw all that stuff away and just stick it on. It's no matter what, you just rebuild it. And it just because labor was cheap.
Yeah,
now it's all different. Yeah, see, now the labor's so high, and we didn't make any money, so we could stay there all day. But it was so you just and then from there I went into parts, and then I ended up buying the place, and then it was an international dealer, and then Case bought out International. So and then we had nothing because they had a Case dealer near us. So
that was more on the farm side then?
Yeah, farm side. Yeah. But we were unique because they call us twin dealer, 2 dealers, because we had trucks and tractors.
I see.
So because we were remote, and him it was kind of remote area, and that's why we worked on everything because whatever you had, worked on, to make money, you had to have 10 different things.
So Hammond, is that an area where they have hay, like for the dairy industry?
They had hay and corn and potatoes. That's where he grew all those potatoes, and that's interesting because in that area there's no season. You can grow. You can plant one field and dig in another because the weather's always good.
Yeah.
Where in Idaho you can have one growing season.
Yeah.
So going there, but it was and so that's how we ended up going out of that, and it was just. But it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
But my dad was the head of the mechanics, and he was the way he taught you. He says, "That's a piece of iron. You just got to be a little smarter than it is, or you're not going to learn any younger. You better just learn it now." And that's the two things he used. So.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, being a kid that you turn to TD9 or something like that, you do something wrong, man. And if it was reversed after I got older, I said, man, I wouldn't be letting no kid work on that stuff, But he'd give you a book and let you go for it. So that's how I spent my Christmas vacation and my spring vacation and everything working. Uncle, that had the fiberglass hood on it, was pre-running the 400, and we nosed down, come over, and the air cleaner thing come out through the hood, so we put the wing nut on the hood right there, and it actually, believe it or not, it scratched the windshield. The rocks scratched the windshield and didn't break it. That's what it was always scratched. And we adjusted the lights at night by putting a tow rope on it and pulling it until you can see it. It bends on the side. That's how I adjusted the lights on it so you can see it. Well, these things are nice, man.
Isn't it?
Jeez, all of them.
I love the maps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's priceless, yeah. And we never had that. But it just look how clean and simple it is.
Yeah.
But it only goes about 1/10 of the speed. Well, everything he had a trailer and a Jeep and he had 20, and he made everything in the same pattern as a Jeep, so everything would interchange. And he come up and he said, well, what do you think of the Gates tires? I says, they're absolutely trash. They're giving them away as races, so you'll run them. He went and bought 20 of them, just because I told him. And they all blew out within a year because of I go by and I wouldn't even help him change it because
Today, each one of these tires is worth about $5,000.
Is that right?
That's how collectible they are.
No, because they're still because they're still holding air. Huh?
You should have kept them.
I know.
That'd be a good retirement.
But yeah, I know. I sure would have been.
I worked for Gates as a contractor, and they built the Optima battery. Gates did it, but there was a stack of these back in the warehouse in the 80s. I mean, there was a warehouse with hundreds of them.
There's unbelievable how popular. I have people asking me for them right now.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
But yeah,
We have some over here.
there was a stack of them back
Yeah,
there.
no, that'd be good property.
I don't know what happened to those. I mean, that was in
Well, I
the
think
80s.
BFG came along and probably spanked them. I mean, they were quite a bit better tire back in the day. The BFG tires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But this was
They were cleaning out the. Oh, you know what? I'll have to find it and then I'll show it to you, because it'll take me a week to find it. Oh, here it is. And we've got two of them. No, I guess I only took one picture.
That's a Firestone, huh?
Yeah, it's Firestone. And it's the Parnelli 1000 on it.
They just make those for a short amount of time, or what's the story there?
Yeah, they did. I guess when PJ was hooked into Firestone for years, and so I think he had them made for him, and they were selling them on the market at the time. But
I see.
But they're too big for what we.
I see. Yeah.
Look, this one is the stove.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, the stove, and it says he's running propane. And so that'd be Loomis, Jim Loomis. Because he drove the stove on the whole time. Yes, that's pretty cool. And they had like they have now, where they have the forklift in the buildings that have the propane on. That's what they had in the back of these, so they could change them at the thing.
Removable tank.
Yeah, removable tank. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And Parnelli always rode with, Stroppe rode with Parnelli a lot. And no matter where you're at, you could hear Bill yelling at Parnelli, slow down, slow down. You hear him go, oh, that's Parnelli and Stroppe, because he's yelling at him, slow down.
This is a Stroppe catalog, original Stroppe catalog.
Oh.
And I just bought that on eBay, and the guy gets a hold of me, he says, do you realize you just spent $500 on a brochure? And I said, yeah, but do you realize it's worth $2,000?
Yeah, I was at the end of the race. Remember when Parnelli won the race, the 500, and he had rolled the car 3 separate times? I don't know whether you remember that or not, but I got a picture of it here. The car, big oldie, just shrapnel, had one light left. And they come in the middle of the night, and they're coming in from Ojos Negros. And the last part is about 12 miles of pavement. You come on, you hit the Pepsi stand coming on the pavement. Well, at the end of the race, you could look up the hill, and there's a lot of fog because it's right on the ocean, and it's against the hill, and so all of a sudden you hear a car coming, and then all the motorcycle riders yelling, hey, it's a motorcycle, it's a motorcycle. It's only got one light, it's only got one light. And they're coming down like this, and then pretty soon you could hear tires squealing. I said, well, you never hear tires squealing on a motor. And then I said, then the next thing you can do is hear Parnelli yelling at PG to slow down, so you knew it was them coming. And he had one light, and he beat them all by in the middle of the night. It's just amazing.
That's why I thought it was a motorcycle, because he had just one light. Oh, yeah. That's funny. When Rod Hall did these pickups, him and Shelby went together, Carol Shelby did these.
No, but I remember him telling me about them, that they were going to do it.
They did. They were supposed to do like 50 of them, and I think they've only got maybe like 30 of them built. But they had them in white, red, or black. And it was a pretty neat story that they had going on with them.
I never did see him build it, because the last time I talked to him about him doing that was he said that it cost so much to do it because you had to crash one.
And I think that might have been the first batch, but then that's why I think he got with probably Carol Shelby, because Shelby knew the game.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that was the last I knew about him.
They were 1990.
Yeah.
So we had the black one, had 8,500 miles on it, and I thought that was the best one in the world. And then about less than a year ago, this one came up with 900 miles on it.
Yeah, those are You guys know the story about him finishing the race with all they had was reverse left, and I can still see old Fricker in the back here with the light turned this way so Rodney could back, and he beat it. He won it like that.
Have you heard that story?
I've heard that one,
And
no doubt.
Then another one in the 400, the early 400, he lost an alternator. And all he had to do was finish ahead of a guy. So he's off the side of the road and it's dark. And the guy come by, so he followed him in just before he got into the finish line. He passed him right there.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to use your lights.
Yeah,
I'm
your lights
going to smoke you.
Yeah. These things are absolutely beautiful, man, I'm telling you. Yeah, those are great, absolutely great.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's amazing how much history, is like in these two rooms.
I know, and just the...
Does it bring back more memories for you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it does. Yeah.
Back in
And
the
this
good old
this
days.
brings back Rod because
Yeah, he was with Dodge for so
for
long.
so long, and then it was so much because of the competitor with the honcho in the same class, and we knew both the guys in the honcho.
Yeah.
Of course, we were always rooting for Rod, but was there all the time with him,
Yeah.
watching him, and they were friends. Yeah, they all friends. Yeah,
Those were the days.
I don't know when you go out there, like I say, when they go out with the ice chest. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
and people don't realize there's absolutely no gas stations.
Yeah,
There's no hotels.
yeah.
There's no restaurants. There's nothing. There's just Mexicans out there.
Pre-running Baja with my grandpa was so much fun.
Oh, it had to
We
be.
would pre-run and we would just sleep on the side of the dirt
Yeah,
road. I mean, we
yeah.
didn't try and get to any town or any hotel. We just drove until we'd had enough. He didn't even pitch a tent. I mean, he just
I know.
slept
yeah.
on a cot
Well,
under
when
the
I
stars.
tell you the race, well, the one we was pre-running that with all the when it started raining. Well, we were sleeping under the cars because it was out in the rain, and pretty soon it started floating us away. So we had to get out and start moving. So.
Carl, let me show you this international down on the other
Oh,
end.
sure.
You mentioned Vic Hickey, so Hickey did these back in the day. They actually did his upfit for Chrysler back in the day. So that was kind of neat. But what I wanted to show you here is we have a Survivor, only 8,000 miles on it, but orange with red guts, 4-speed. Look at the interior. I'm sure you recognize it.
We're building a '73 yellow one right now, just for to have around town.
Yeah.
I got to take it.
So Carl used to have a international dealership, and so that's why I knew he'd get a kick out of this one.
Yeah.
Still has the original Remington tires on it,
Remy,
but I love the couch inside there.
oh man, yeah, that's great. Gee whiz.
Funny story, Carl. I had this thing for about a half hour before I figured out how to open the hood. It took me a while. And you probably know right where the latch is.
Well, I'll tell you another funnier story. When we had the dealership, I had one. It was a pickup cab, you know. And I pulled in the pool hall, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off because it's got a thing on the steering column that you have to push up to shut it off. And I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I own the place. Oh yeah, look at that.
All original 8,000 miles.
Do you know what engines in it? Is it like the 304, 345? It doesn't matter. They were all the same. It's probably a 345, no, a 304.
304. So they actually had all four of them here. You had one. You had a little mark in it. Yeah.
304, yeah. That is so cool.
I mean, they were really ahead of their time when you think about it.
Except the only thing is, look where the axle is. They got to have the pan's got a big lump in it like that.
Okay.
Because the engine's so far forward.
Oh yeah.
See, and so that's where all your weight is on this.
I see.
Yeah, and if you look at it, but all the rest of the stuff, yeah, they had a lot of good things. There was a guy that he would run those things 300 grand. You know, those V8s that they just went forever.
Yeah.
But see, like this one here's got the, I don't know if you can see it from here now, you can, but it's got a hump in the pan, so the differential doesn't hit the, so. Yeah, this is nice. I'm gonna take a picture because
So the story is the guy bought two of them, and this one was for his wife, and then they parked it at the lake property.
oh, right, okay.
That's why I got so little usage.
God, man, that's great. Yeah. And it says that I-8s, they fit on Jeeps.
Oh really?
Yeah, On my Jeep, I got the IH hubs on it, and I got some of the bearings and stuff from it because the IH you can get a good price on because but they come out. The early Jeeps was all, and this was like the early Jeep knuckle, you know. And they always had a problem after a few years of, if you put a little bigger tire, of shimmying. You know, you go across the railroad track sideways and shimmy. Well, they come out with what they call instead of a Timken bearing, it was just a chunk of brass. And so what it was it just loaded everything. So you could load it instead of and those Timken bearings, because there wasn't much turn. When you turn like that, would always have a groove where the bearing was. Oh, I see. So it sort of loosened up like that, and you start.
Well, we'll show you a couple things in the other room here on our way back. And they get with Dana, and they buy all the parts. And then as soon as Toyota came out with four-wheel drive, it basically put Wolverine, you know, out of business because they weren't really needed anymore. So this is even one that they put a step side on this one here, Wolverine wood. But most of these Toyotas, when you see them, they got a gazillion miles on them. So to find nice survivors, one has like 16,000 and one's got 30,000 miles. Amazing. They're pretty fun, but we get a kick out of those. Collection is out at our other location, but this is some of the Datsuns. And these are really low mile ones. You know, we have some 15 mile, 28 mile, a dealership had them.
Isn't that interesting?
Are there more than last time?
Wasn't there less than
We just keep moving them around, and we probably got the better ones all over here now, but I think there's still 3 other ones elsewhere. But
I don't see your rice in here either.
No, we got rid of the rice because the mice.
Oh, that's right.
The mice. We couldn't keep the mice out of them no matter what.
Out of what?
The mice just, you know, they would file the
Oh, yes.
As a joke, or?
Yeah,
had a pallet of rice over there.
I forgot about that.
Those are really incredible.
You could lift it up while I change the tire.
You can, yeah.
Oh, these are so rad. I love these little ones. I know. Think about like the 3 of us like racing them.
It's like a whole new genre
Of go-karts?
Go-karts.
Yeah.
I kept
Yeah.
thinking go-karts. Like, no.
You know, this is what my wife wanted for her first car.
This is what she wanted?
Yeah, and she had the money and everything saved up for her, but her dad was an old Texan. He said, there ain't no way you're going to buy an old Jap car.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
So you had to go buy a used something. I don't
Ford.
know. Yeah, an old used Ford. Because you could almost see it. You know, or it'd be a Dodson pickup going in, pretty soon it'd be a Nissan. And I said, what, are they changing names or what?
And even these first ones here, the engine says Nissan on it, but they were always a Dodson car. But they just tested the market. I mean, they're pretty sharp. They're pretty smart about that.
So which one's been your favorite?
Huh?
Which one's been your favorite?
Oh, that's kind of hard to pick. Oh, it's so
There's a lot to
I know,
choose from.
they're just beautiful, man. How about belly buttons?
How cool is that?
Yeah, no, you know, just in a million years, you'd never. If somebody told you that, you'd say, no way.
No way.
Yeah, no way.
So I tried to get a hold of her for months and months and months, and I thought, that gal's pretty stuck up. She would not respond back, and so I shared the phone number with another guy, Robert Parker. Robert said, that's not her phone number. So I don't know how I was hitting on all those months.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, hi, sweetheart. How come you don't call me back?
What did I do?
And then when I did get a hold of her, she got it right back to me. So
Made up for it.
made up for it.
I tell you, I was so excited I didn't sleep for 3 days. Now I'm not going to sleep for another 3 days. I'm gonna be done. I told Shelby there's a few things I can't tell her about her granddad.
I don't want to know.
Yeah,
I don't want to know.
Nobody wants it.
But why don't you get loaded up and he'll tell us?
Yeah.
I can only imagine. He was a troublemaker his whole life. So.
So.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't even forget your purse.
Well, I tell you what, Shelby, this has been a highlight, really, of my life. It's great. Never thought I'd ever, like this. So maybe we'll get together sometime, watch a race or two or something.
I'd love
like
that.
'cause
I would love that.
It'd be fun, man. I'm telling you.
Thank you for sharing all those stories and
It's just they're fun. They are.
thank you.
Here's one that'll make you cry. You know how Rodney was always high. I mean, he was always really, I don't know, high strung. But when the song come out, The Rhythm of the Rain. Oh, he whistled that all the time.
Really? I don't know that song.
Yeah, and if you don't get the one by Floyd Kramer, but the one that come out, but he'd whistle it because it was such a high movement. It was just
Yeah.
Get it on your phone.
Okay.
Listen to it, and you'll cry because that's Rodney right there moving. Because I can still picture him whistling that song.
It's really cool.
There it is.
It is? Okay.
And he'd whistle it all the time. See, he's just moving all the time, going, and that was him. I just loved it. It's
1, 2, 3.
just an absolutely beautiful
So nice
day.
meeting you, Carl.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm giving you a hug,
All
man.
right.
It was so nice to meet you guys too.
Well, thank you.
Photos and videos to you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.